I'm pitching AppBase.io. Basically, we are a data streams company. The idea is that real-time web is coming up, and this is mainly driven by, one, the shift in user expectations, two, the rise of the Internet of Things, three, there's exponentially growing data. And so only like Google, Facebook, Slack, there's like 0.01% of the companies that have the resources to build the architectures for the real-time web. And our goal is to build a solution that works natively with existing database vendors. It creates a real-time layer. So imagine you're using MongoDB or Elasticsearch or SQL. What we do is we create a real-time layer on them, so you can run queries that allow you to perform stream processing. Anything that is available in the database query language, things like doing search, things like doing geolocation, whatever the database supports, specific to the database, we can support it. And so, I mean, typical use cases are building alerting apps, tracking time series data that comes from IoT sensors, and trying to do analytics on top of it. It could be social media aggregation, so you have a fire hose coming from Twitter or Facebook, and you want to figure out how your company is mentioned. You want to interact with your followers. Or it could be contextual recommendations. Things like what Groupon deals are. Based on your location, you get recommendations based on your past preferences, what you have said, and where you are right now. So there's a set of use cases. I think there are about like 10 major use cases that you can do with real-time. Not every CRUD app needs real-time, but our guess is right now 5% of all the apps built do need real-time, and that number is only going to increase down the line.
I'm a software developer myself, but I can't understand how this whole thing works. Can you explain me like what it's for again?
Right. So sure. The idea is like it's
How old is this? Like, when did you start? What's the story?
Right. We started in May 2014. And so the story was I used to be a backend engineer with a Techstars company. We were building educational games, mobile games, and we had a distribution to 3,000 plus schools. And we had every day about 100,000 kids coming and playing buttons, pressing a lot of keys. And so the biggest challenge really was how to sync everything they were doing to what they were doing in their own tablets. And this took us 4 months to just build it. And so after this experience, really, it was a question of I really am a computer science major. This is a problem that I would like to solve. But is this broad enough, and does it have appeal? So we spent about 6 months talking with people, realized, yes, this is going to be a space that's going to be huge, and then took a leap of faith, I think, around like 2 years back.
And what about the competition? Who is playing on the same market?
Right. So I think, one are services where, they do hosted WebSockets. Some of them even offer filtering on top of it. So there's companies called Pusher, PubNub, Firebase. Those will be the kind of companies that do these things. So I think there are about 10, 15 companies in that space. That's one area of competition because for simple scenarios, people would prefer that solution because it works just as well, even if it doesn't work with the DB. And the second kind of competition is, I would say, RethinkDB is now building a real-time database. And so they are building the DB from scratch, making it real-time, and trying to gain traction on that.
Wait a second. Sorry. I say again. So do we have competition or we don't? Exactly the same. Do we have people doing exactly the same?
Functionality-wise, there are people who promise that you can build real-time apps.
I'll probably need to research more on that because I have no idea what is going on. So, okay, but let's talk about business more. So you're running this whole thing for 2 years, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And in 2 years, you got 5 clients.
Yes. So we launched the platform 10 months ago. And we launched it for free, and we got about 1,000 users that are using it right now. 700 built one app. We have 5 paying customers.
Okay.
They're paying between.
Okay. And what is the plan? How many more are you going to have?
So we are focusing on growing. One is the free users, and second is we want to grow the paying customers. So these are our two key metrics. How many more signups can we get, and how many paying customers can we get? These are the really valuable metrics. So we want to get to 10,000 developers by second quarter of 2017.
Do you have any progress with investments? Did you have any investors before, or what's the situation with that?
Yeah, so far we have raised 300K in the last year.
You raised 300K
in over the last year, yeah.
Over the last, and how many investors?
About 4 or 5. So some of them were grants.
You don't know?
No. I'm just saying, like, I mean, I do not want to be very, very specific, like, because this is going to be public.
Okay. Well, this is what I think. Well, in general, it looks interesting because, well, mainly because I don't entirely understand. Even though I'm a programmer, I'm not entirely understand. Well, I think I understand how it technically works, but I'm not. And as a potential user, I can't say I understand how big is the market for it. So I have big suspicions that the market is not so big. So the customers, I think so that customers will be, in most cases, will want to first of all to implement it themselves or use some open source stuff for it. That's one thing which concerns me, which bothers me. But this is not the main thing. I'm just saying what I'm thinking. I'm just giving you all the thoughts I have. That's one thing which is kind of raises some concerns. The second thing is that you are. It looks like you're quite. You're trying to cover too many use cases. Like right now it's Elasticsearch, but for the future you're thinking about different databases and different integration with different things, which makes your system potentially quite big. So now it's Elasticsearch, tomorrow it's going to be PostgreSQL, tomorrow it's going to be some Cassandra, whatever, some NoSQL databases. So potentially it's something really, really big, which is supposed to cover many databases and be able to be integratable with many things. And that's also like my thinking. Also, what I kind of, which bothers me is that there's a huge competition on the market. Like you have this company, that company, and these companies are quite big, like this Pusher and this Parse, which is open source now, and this Firebase, and all these names which you gave. I'm not really in this reactive space of development, and that's why I kind of don't know how these guys work technically, but I feel that the competition is quite big and quite intense. So, which means that tomorrow somebody may come on, one of these big players will say that, hey, we have a solution which is exactly the same as this AppBase is providing. You may say that they will basically want to buy you in that case, like a company, but maybe not. So this competition is also kind of scary. And what's the most concerning part is that it looks like you are trying to like I said, you're trying to give a service which is kind of, for me as a programmer, kind of difficult to imagine. Like I said before, to give you the data and then get the stream from you. But the main problem why I think this is a not good moment for me to invest is that you're too big for us. So your value is already 4 million. You already got $300,000 and your valuation is 4 or 5,000, while we are trying to invest when the value is from $500,000 up to $1 million. And when our money is, I mean, we give small amounts of money, and we want startups to be quite young. So you're kind of old for us. You're bigger than we can afford. So that's the main concern. Yeah. So you definitely have some progress, and you're definitely on the market right now, but it's too big for us. It's 5 million. I would say that 5 million is probably too much for that kind of business when you have just 5 paying customers. But if you think that you're doing something really new on the market and you're really providing something which nobody else provides, and you're actually invented something, then probably 5 million is okay. But I cannot see what exactly is invented here. What is the innovation? What's the invention which nobody can reproduce? So I would say that's too big for us, and maybe the valuation is too high. And that makes this case is not a good investment for me.
Got it.
That's my situation. So if you wanted my opinion of what to do next, then I would strongly suggest to focus on one use case, which I would say, well, either select just Elasticsearch and say that we are just a software for Elasticsearch. That's it. And say it on the website and just focus on that. And never say that it's going to be more databases in the future. We're just Elasticsearch and we do just one specific use case. That, I think, will turn you into more investable company. For me, as someone who just found out about your company just half an hour ago, it looks like there are too many things at the same bucket, and you just kind of, I would not say that word too aggressively, but disfocused. That's what I say sometimes. So if you're doing too many things, then you're disfocused, and it's more difficult to be successful. I think so. For me, and also in the pitch and for investors, I would suggest to use less of the marketing text and more of a like specific technical thing. So when you're pitching to investor, well, at least for me, I don't know about the other investors, but I think in general it's better it's for the investor. It's important to hear facts, and the investor has to make conclusions, has to make some to decide whether this is interesting or not. But instead, you're kind of often saying this is important, this is like more like giving me conclusions instead of basic facts. So you should say numbers, like this is how many clients this company has, this is how many clients I have, this is they provide 5 features, I provide 2 features, they implemented it half a year ago, we implemented it 3 months ago. So just basic facts, and I will build it in my head, I will build it to conclusions, and I will think, okay, this is interesting. But instead, when I hear from entrepreneurs, when I hear from startups, they conclude for me and they say, we are like, this is valuable, we have a high valuation, we are so we have high potential, we are so going to be so successful in the market. All these conclusions basically tell me that they're trying to hide facts from me, so which is suspicious. So that's just a suggestion for the pitch.